Good morning, my dear students from different parts of India, Delhi, Jharkhand, Tripura, Manipur, and different institute of Assam. Today, we are going to speak on a topic which is very important in our day-to-day practice. That is about the plaster. How to apply? What is the principles of plaster's applications? We will discuss about this. We have been discussing various types of fractures, the modalities of instrumentations, but equally it is an art how best we can apply the plaster. We will discuss about this. Now, before that, we always start with some your philosophy. Today's philosophy is karmanna karmaisa pasutpati sa karmaisa sa buddhimam manusesu sa jukta kitesma karma kitam. It is a sloka from 4th chapter of Gita. As you know, Gita is not a religious book, it is a book of your philosophy. And this sloka says that those who see action in inaction and inaction in actions are the true wise amongst the human. Although performing all kinds of actions, they are yogic and master of all their actions. So that is the philosophy of today. So we will take up this subject on plaster applications. Little bit of the history of the plaster. As you know, different civilizations have used their own technique of emulations and fractures. It is true that in the evolutions of these your different civilizations, and the human beings all face their problems related to your fractures, dislocations, all the problems were there in the time immemorial. So it is there. So every civilization there have own techniques of addressing the musculoskeletal problem. So it is true that there is evolutions, and we all know about the Hippocrates also, the different techniques, the use of resins, the use of wax, the use of cast, some sort of cast. So the principles of your immobilizations was there, but the modality, how they are using was different. And today, of course, we are lucky enough to have the plaster of Paris with us, which give us the opportunity to apply it very easily. And also very easily, and one of the best important thing is that it is radiolucent. Means whatever necessary you can get the X-ray done through the plaster also. This is one of the advantages. And a little bit of the history of the plaster of Paris. Why it is called plaster of Paris? There is a question sometimes comes to my mind. Why not the plaster of London or plaster of some Delhi or some other cities? Or why is it related to Paris? As you all know, this is actually a gypsum from where it is coming. And the incidents, you know that the gypsum was there, the hut on which the hut was built over a hillock of your gypsum burned down. Then the persons who tried to find out these remnants from there has a good imprint of foot over there. That is given then that imprint was so shiny and was everlasting that later on that thing the people used to apply over the walls. And while Henry III visited Paris, he was surprised and astonished to see the shining walls of the Paris. Henry III from England. So later on he has popularized this, and it is because this shiny walls of Paris has popularized this concept of the plaster of Paris as related to Paris actually, and Henry III is also somehow has a contributions to make it more popular with the name of your Paris. And that is why the plaster of Paris is still being used in different forms in the walls today also. And we the orthopedic surgeons are using this plaster of Paris in day-to-day practice of emulations. So, you know, this plaster of Paris basically the chemical constituents is hemihydrated calcium sulfate. The hemihydrated calcium sulfate, while you pour into water, then it goes for exothermic reactions, and that leads to your setting of the hydrations of the hemihydrated calcium sulfate. Then it is setting. Consolidated it, and usually it takes around 5 to 8 minutes time to become consolidated. But it also dependent upon the environmental temperatures. If the temperatures of the water where it is being poured is low, setting time is more. If it is warm, the setting time is a bit rapid. On the other hand, somebody can apply resins and some other ingredient to make it more smooth and cohesive. That is how we learn. Then another one or practical two teaching points we should understand that the sizes are usually 4 in upper limb, usually 6 in the lower limb, but also sometimes different sizes are available. And then if necessary, sometimes for small children, we can make this 6 inch into half of 3 inch can be applied there. Particularly it is useful in CTB, we do so to reduce this size. That is about the plaster of Paris, which is another thing which nowadays being used. We all know about the synthetic cast. Synthetic cast is a fiberglass product which is very strong, stronger many times, more than 3 times than that of your plaster of Paris. 1 or 2 points regarding the fiberglass. It is stronger, it is waterproof. It is waterproof, it is stronger, it needs less layer than that of your plaster of Paris. That means 2 to 3 layers are sufficient to give a good solid plaster cast. With your fiberglass, which is a bit costly, waterproof, lighter than that of your plaster of Paris, very strong than that of your plaster of Paris. Again, it is also radiolucent. Only thing is that it is a bit costly. Another thing is that molding. So molding is a bit difficult with that of your fiberglass than that of with the plaster of Paris. So plaster of Paris applications is a art actually. So while you do apply, we necessarily give a layer of cotton. What is the thickness of the cotton? The thickness of the cotton is only 1/2 inch. And while you are giving pressure over there, it will be reduced to 1/12 of an inch, 1/10 of an inch. But nowadays we are having the cast padding. We all know the uniform cast paddings are available in different sizes, which gives a uniform coating over the skin. While applying the plaster also, that we used to do certain things there. That is to be dry one. And if necessary, you can apply certain powders also, which prevents itching of the patients, because it is particularly in the warm day, rainy days, or in the very hot days, it can become intolerable and itching also cause. Probably antifungal powders applications can prevent to some extent. 1 point. Number 2 is the cotton layer. And or we can apply also the cast padding. Well, how much? So while you are applying the plaster, it should be uniform. Cast padding, it should be uniform throughout the length of the desired length where you are going to apply the plaster. And while you are wrapping, that one wrap, the previous wrap should cover at least not less than 1/3 of the previous wrap. That will show you practically how exactly it's done. Important thing is that there should not be crease in between. If there is a fold, you should take care that there is no crease. This crease is very important. If there is fold there, then it causes a pressure effect over there, and that pressure effect may lead to ulcer later on after a long time durations. So this is not ideal to have some sort of crease, some sort of bump, and it should be always uniform throughout the length. 1 point. Number 2, one can take some extra care while applying over the bony points, like the fibular head or the medial malleolus or medial epicondyles. Also, additional coating are important in the layers. This actually essentially give another guard to prevent pressure effect over the bony length. That is another point, uniformity, then also excessive. Then while you are applying the plaster, 1 or 2 points are there. That while I am pouring it into water. After water, how long we supposed to keep in the water? You are supposed to keep as long as the bubble stops coming. Once the bubble stops coming, that is the point when you have to take it out from the water. And what is the mechanism of squeezing? Squeezing is you hold in two end and I'll squeeze it like this as you are inching in your cloth. This is important that if you are squeezing too much, then lot of material will come up, which is not ideal. The basic principle of doing the squeezing is basically to squeeze out the extra water, not the material. So if it is very tight one also, it is not ideal. So that means if your squeezing is too less, water will be too much, it is more difficult to apply because too much water will be there. On the other hand, if you squeeze it too much, it will dried up out the material, lot of material will be lost, which is not an ideal situation. So it is the optimum one, so only to squeeze out the extra water, not the material, nor even keep the water too much. That is one point. And while applying the plasters through the course, the desired length where it's designed, that it should be start from one end to another end. It is also has a mindset, we have a mindset that at the fracture side we used to apply more plaster. But actually no. The thickness of the plaster should be uniform throughout the desired length. Supposing if I am applying a coliscus here, the coliscus should be not to concentrate over the fracture area or distal end of the radius, give more layers. No, it is not ideal. Ideal is to go for the 1.2 out of the maximum length which is desired, and there should be uniform thickness throughout the course rather than giving more pressure. That is number 2. Another point is that while you are applying the plaster, one should squeeze out the rapid so that next layer is adhering to the previous layer. The important is called cold welding or sort of thing. Welding means adhesions between the layers. That means every layer you are applying, you are rolling your hand over there, and this rolling should to be so that it actually adhesion between the two layers. This essentially helps in to squeeze out the bubbles or the air in between. The squeezing out the air will help you adhesions of the two layers, and it is giving a solution. So in a situation you are applying the whole plaster starting from one end to another end, layers, 4 or 5 layers you are applying, then final layer you are wrapping. In between the layers may not get adherent to each other. That is not an ideal situation. Here one should do every time you are wrapping so that uniformity is there and there is a adhesions between two layers more solid, so that this construct is your solid one. Otherwise the air which entrapped in between the layers is weaken this your plasters. One point. Number 2, while doing the wrapping, while you are using, you should not use these fingers, rather than you supposed to use the palm. Palm is more important that while you are wrapping, this gives more uniformity of this air rather than the palm. So certain area maybe get more pressure if you are applying the palm. Even fingers. Even you are holding somebody, supposing if you are holding a plaster, supposing somebody is applying the long leg cast, and you are assisting him by applying your hand down below to suspend it. But at that moment of time also it is not ideal to give support from the fingers, rather it is more ideal to use your palm so that uniformity is not that there is no over creasing, more depression or indentation over the plaster by the fingers. That is not the ideal situation because it may lead to more pressure effect to localized area, may lead to your excoriations. That is an important thing. So wrapping. Then finally one other point is that while doing that you should give a very uniformity of these plasters. Thickness should be uniform throughout the course, not necessarily give more concentrations at the fracture side, and the margins are should be smooth. You can reverse it, reverse the end to make it more smooth, because if you are keeping a plaster like this and the end is very sharp one, the sharpness is, if it is lasting for more long time, probably it will lead to a pressure also and a deep cut may be there. Not an ideal situations. The margin should be smooth one. So that is why somebody used to apply stockinette also So stockinette applications can be done, which also give a very uniform coating, then cast bedding. The stockinette cut in can be in folded again so as to make the margins more smooth, so that patient does not feel discomfort. That is very important. So this allow the patients to dry, allow the plaster to dry. Then also, depending upon the need, whether you are going to apply, allow the patient to work or not work. That all depend whether weight bearing plaster or not weight bearing, according to advice to be given. And also, it is a mandatory to give a very good advice to the patient that these unique situations, it is also legal point of view to save your own yourself, that these plasters may lead to detrimental effects sometime. And 1 or 2 points I like to add here, that never try to apply a full cast applications in a fresh fractures, be it any sort of fractures. Supposing there is a fracture both bone or fracture radius here or Colles fractures, it is not ideal. If the patient is coming in the morning or today, or he had an injury today, never ever apply the full cast there. These full cast applications may be detrimental, may lead to a lot of consequences like compartment syndrome, error. This is also true in case of lower limb. Also, never try to apply a full cast there. Always give a chance of the inflammatory edema, fracture edema should subside, then go for it. Meanwhile, one can apply the plaster slab, which is desired, and allow the patient to take rest, do the activity, do the movements of the fingers and the toes, so that the swelling subsides. And after swelling subsides, you should go for the full cast applications, because full cast application in a fresh fractures is always very dangerous situations. Never try to do so; it may lead to a lot of problems there. Okay, then we'll go for the full cast application. Give the necessary advice of the patients. And give a warning that in situations where he is experiencing more pain, that is a warning sign for us, because after application of plaster, patients should feel comfortable. Because why you are applying the plaster? Plaster is applying to immobilize the fractures. Once the fracture is getting immobilized with your own plasters, then it should reduce the pain perceived by the patients. But if the patient is experiencing more pain after application of plaster, this is not a good sign. Probably something is wrong, patient may have some problems, and give instructions in a situation you should consult your nearby doctors or attend casualties or emergency, or even in if it is very surging, blackening of the colors of all the problems of your pressure is coming up, and a warning sign is coming, then it is better to cut the plaster himself. There is no harm doing so. You can replace the plaster, but once it is established compartment syndrome, probably you may lose the limb. So that is why it is always customary to give the proper instruction to the patients, so as to follow it. And in situations where there is a warning signs of red flag sign is coming up, it is no matter. You should cut the plaster away. If you are unable to attend the hospitals, no problem. 1 or 2 days you can reapply the plaster again, but you should not be in doubt. Better be in safer side rather than having a doubt. So this sort of warning should be given, and then follow up the patients accordingly. That is another point of thing. We are going to show you how exactly we are going to apply plaster for examples in the fracture Colles today, and what are the things we are supposed to take care practically for application of the plaster. So today we are going to demonstrate application of plaster in fracture Colles. So in Colles fracture, you all know there is fracture here in this region. Traction and counter tractions helps us reductions of the fracture, and also corrections. We'll talk step by step. Now, one thing is that while doing the tractions, a holding of fingers is also important. If you are holding the finger like this, probably the middle finger will be getting crushed, so it will be more painful for the patients. But if you are keeping it like this and hold it like this, Then it is comfortable to the patient, assistant, and also comfortable to patients. If it is holding like this, it will cause crushing. This middle finger will be very painful. Or if you are doing like this and holding like this, the grip will be better for him, and also it's not going to give additional pain to the patient. Thumb is being held like this and pull traction. Counter traction equally. While giving the traction and counter tractions, the patient's attendance, assistance, weight is going to help you. Traction. The force working over here, it's basically weight of the person which is giving the weight, elbow is straight. Likewise, the other side also, the elbow is straight and it should be 90 degree in action. 90 degree of the elbow. So this is counter and traction and counter tractions. Now question arises, how this traction and counter traction is actually helping us. See, in a fracture like this, invariably in a Colles fracture, so patient is coming into fractures, elderly patients or osteopathic patients. A forceful maneuver by me can also make me, I can do the reductions with my gate force without traction also. Then why you are applying the traction? So while you are applying the tractions, what is the greatest advantage you are doing is that the fragment is getting disimpacted, because the fragment, because of the pull of the muscles and other thing, once there is a fracture here, while it is becoming displaced and is dislodged, and is a fragment, the end, serrated ends is locked like this, going like this. Now, question arises, in a osteoporotic fractures like this, if I am giving a pressure effect here, necessarily it can correct it, because it can easy to break down the serrated end. By doing so, what is going to do the damage is that you are making the end smooth. The spikes are being smashed, and then the inherent locking mechanism, this is interlocking, locking mechanism is lost. So that is why it is not ideal to do the corrections without tractions. So once you are giving a traction and counter tractions, what is the advantage? That each fragments are disimpact each other. Now in disimpactor, it necessarily do some sort of corrections itself, and rest of the corrections you are doing the manipulation to the corrections. So that is why traction and sufficient counter traction is important to disimpact the fragments, and after disimpactment then you do the corrections. That is basic principle. Now while doing so, now while I am going to correct this deformity here, we all know we have 6 deformities, displacements here in the fracture Colles. Posterior displacement, posterior tilt, lateral displacement, lateral tilt, supination rotations, and upper displacement. So tractions is necessarily doing the corrections of the rotational part also and disinfections of the image. Now what is left is the angulation part is of greater extent is corrected. Now mostly we do have posterior displacement and lateral displacement, or lateral tilt or lateral displacement, posterior displacement or posterior tilt. Now how to correct it? This is another point we also have. So while you are doing the corrections, necessarily displacement is basically the proximal fragment is stable, and whatever displacement is being there, it is basically the relative position of the distal fragment in relation to the proximal fragment. So considering the proximal fragment normal one, from this normal, how the fragment is going posteriorly, laterally what? So we define it that way. So that is why we all do consider the proximal part is stable one, normal one, and distal part which is going this way, that way are abnormal positions. So we need to correct it. So in a situation, that is why while doing the corrections here also, one need to make these things stable. Unless this proximal fragment is making stable, you do the corrections there, the relative position, relative movement of the also taking place at the proximal fragment. So it is not an ideal situation. So if both these things are moving, then you cannot correct it. So many times it is advisable to hold this like this and give encourage of your elbow over the and to get press short. So once you are locking it like this, support with your own body at this iliac crest area, so this part is stable now. So once this part is stable, do the corrections. And while doing corrections, now the posterior fragment, distal fragment, which is posterior displacement, we supposed to use our thinner part, thinner eminence over here. So necessarily while I am pressing it, this thing which is giving me good support with my body is never going to have any relation, because my body is holding the proximal fragment nicely and I am going the pressures over there. So if you are doing pressure also, at this moment of time there is no point there is movement of the proximal fragment, because proximal fragment somehow I am holding it like this with my anchorage of this body. So it is not going to get displaced, but I am doing whatever is doing, we are going to have a effective movement of the distal fragment or distal side. So that way we can correct the posterior displacement, posterior tilt. Then lateral displacement also, again you are giving support, you have to give pressure from the lateral side towards the medial side, then you can correct the lateral displacement, lateral tilt. So it can also, in case of Colles fracture, we supposed to see the relationship between the two styler process, and we all know the distal radial styler process is lower down that of your ulna, half an inch. So if the relation is achieved clinically, we are happy that we can able to maintain reductions and we can also do the corrections. That is accepted. What next? Next is the applications of the plaster or Caspetin. As I said, it should to be coming in case of Colles fractures, extension of the distal knuckle line, proximal knuckle line here. The basic principle in case of Colles cast is that MP joint should be free. MP joint should be free. So proximal your crease, palmar crease, up to that extent one can go, and other one is going to the below elbow. So while I am applying the Caspetin, we essentially have to be very careful that I do not create an undue fold in between. It should also cover up like this, that I am covering almost half or 1/3 of the previous set. That means if you are wrapping like this previous wrap is being is covered by 1/3 of this fresh one. So that way one supposed to go up to that extent a plaster. Okay, this is being applied. After that we are going to apply the plaster. While I am dipping into the water, I supposed to take the ends free. Otherwise, if it is like this and if I am dipping it, sometimes it becomes very difficult to find out the end. So once you are going to dip into the water, you are supposed to unfold it, put it in the water. I am putting it in the water. Then as I say, once this bubble stops coming, I will hold it like this and do a squeeze forward like this. The idea behind the squeezing is basically to squeeze out the extra water, not the material. Now I am doing the wrapping. So we will start like this. So every time I am doing, I supposed to do it like this. It is ideal that make it a habit of wrapping like this in such a way that every time I am wrapping is supposed to give a uniformity of the layer. This will help you what? This will help you to have better anchorage or locking in between the layers. That will also help to squeeze out the air bubbles locked in between. If you are wrapping like this is very good. Now, so I am also applying the another cast like this. Now question arises in a situation while you are lacking of plaster, one can wait sometime, go slowly, that will help consolidation of this part. So in a situations where you are a bit lack of plaster or you have a plaster amount less, then one should do it in such a way that you should go steadily. Thereby you can make the thing more strong. So every time I am doing, I am wrapping it like this. Every time I am doing, I am wrapping it like this. And it is also true that I am not giving much concentration at the fracture site. Though I know the fracture site is here, but I am not giving much pressure importance over here. This importance is that plaster should be uniform throughout the course. Now next point is that I must make the ends very smooth. This part also very important. The base of the thumb is made smooth. So and it will also be unfolded like this. All margin should be made free so that there is no chance of any undue pressure here. So it should be left like this, make it more smooth. This part is also important to make it more smooth so that there is no undue pressure here. I am not giving additional pressure. Now you control it like this till the fracture is, because you have acidity reduction and this reduction is being maintained like this. Now question arises, somebody used to say it is better to give a flexion and under deviation. In this case, yes, that is true. It is being done. People also say you can keep it straight. Said also no harm. So that is an individual choice. But little bit of your flexion and ulnar deviations is more helpful. Particularly in this region, I am demonstrating a technique which is universal for application of plaster both upper limb and the lower limb. Yes? Okay. So this is how we are supposed to adhere the principles of application of the plasters. The example is only for the Colles fracture, but the basic principles are same for upper limb and lower limb, or anywhere you have to apply the plasters. And let it wait for some time. Do not allow the patients to jump away from the bed, but wait for some time till it settle down or set in. If you are allowing the patient like crease will be there or breakage of plaster will be there. So they wait for some time till it dry, and once it is solid setting is taking place, then allow the patients to move from the bed. Then the rest of the things are there, whether you are applying the slings and other things are there. That if you are applying a sling, it is ideal that the limb should to be always acute, 90 degree or acute. So if it is dying down below, that will only help you to get the swelling into the fingers, which is not ideal. So collar and cuff is important for 1 or 2 days. Then you can allow the patients to do all the exercises particularly, and also encourage the patients to use his hand for doing some light works. It is always important to give the suggestion to do certain works, but not necessarily that he would do some heavy works. That will be not ideal. Number 2, to give the instruction that give the plaster dry intake. It should not go or do not try to do some sort of your extra works like while they are itching, they used to put some foreign material inside to do this itching work. That is not ideal situation. Discourage it. Exercise do, keep the plaster dry and intake. Once there is experiencing more pain initial 1 or 2 days time, that time you supposed to give a warning to the patients that he should come to the casualty or cut the plaster away. But is there any technique if he is developing the pain after say few weeks, say 2 weeks time, he again developing pain? But in this situation, some coal or ice pack in a plastic can be applied over the fracture site. That means reducing. Itching can be avoided by blowing some cold air into the plaster from the ends. That may help him doing some alleviating the itching, or may need to go some anti-allergic drug sometime. And rest of the advice accordingly, whether it is a weight-bearing plaster, not weight-bearing plasters is determined, and also accordingly advice should be given. This is how we supposed to do the plasters. We have discussed about the various techniques, principles. We are not showing only principles, but we are discussing basically the principles of application of plasters, and also how to do the practical work on plaster.